This is TKKNMSTR here, and I'm going to give my pick for the overlooked slash sleeper hit of 2012. So for me, I'm going to pick XCOM Enemy Unknown. The little category here we have is basically which game, while amazing, was mostly overlooked for other AAA titles during this year's avalanche of blockbuster games. And I've got to say, XCOM for me is overlooked because I barely bought it. I was on the fence. I was basically, if I can get it for cheap, I'll get it. If not, I have all these other games to play, which is why I'm giving it the overlooked and sleeper hit, because it was not at the top of my list. It was a game I wanted to play and it was on my radar, but if I didn't get around to it, I wouldn't have been crying a river. And I'm glad I played it because it turned out to be one of the best games of the year for me. It basically was a combination of similar that you have on top of amazing, arguably the best tactical gameplay of this gen. And it was like actually it was cool because it was another interpretation of the squad-based, tactical, turn-based gameplay style that I've seen in so many games. Like, I've played Gungnir, Disgaea, Final Fantasy Tactics, Tactics Ogre, and I love strategy RPGs. And to me, it was really very, very interesting and enjoying just to play this from a Western developer, because so many I've played have been from Japan, and like see their take on the genre. But then it wasn't just a tactical squad-based combat game. It was also the whole diplomatic commander of the XCOM forces and XCOM coalition, where you had to weigh and balance, what am I going to do, and each decision and each time I have to make a choice of what country to save, when the random event will pop up and I can only save one and the other two are pretty much screwed. Or like just the random missions that would pop up and it's like, okay, you have to save this diplomat. And it's like, okay, well, let me look at my barracks to see if my soldiers if I have enough soldiers that are experienced and can handle this, or if I just have a bunch of rookies because all my vets are injured. So it's like there's so many things that you weigh when you're deciding everything. And it was just so good to me because earlier in the year I played Mass Effect, and like playing through XCOM, I wished that every time I made a decision in Mass Effect, I was thinking or had that weight on my shoulders when I was deciding, like I did in XCOM. Like in XCOM, I'm just like, man, this is crazy. I'm just like sitting there for like 5 minutes at a screen that's like push A here, when it's like just little options on the screen. But it's like, no, that stuff has so much more consequence. I gotta like go back, look at the situation room to see where my forces are at, and like go. With Mass Effect 3, it's like, it doesn't even matter, like, what your freaking, I hate to get into this again, but the stupid galactic readiness and war assist, it's like, that's just so terrible compared to XCOM. First time out, does it so well, and just blows Mass Effect away, Mass Effect 3 away in that regard. It's like, man, I wish I had felt that when I was making decisions. Like, there's some parts where I did in Mass Effect 3, but for the most part, it did not match up, even come close in XCOM, when like I have, and then it also helps, it's such a credit to the game design, to where it's like you have permadeath. If your squad or if your characters die in battle, they're dead forever. They're not coming back. You can't just give them a phoenix down or have them come back after the battle's over. It's like, no, they're dead. They're not coming back. Like, if they're a highly ranked soldier, it's like, man, I lost this soldier and I have to like take another rookie and like advance him up to that rank before he can be at that level to be as awesome as the character I just lost for the whole rest of the game. So it's just a crazy cycle you go through while you're playing, and it never got old for me, and I got completely sucked in. And until I finished the campaign, I did not touch anything else, or very few other games, while I was playing XCOM, because it was just I got so immersed in the experience, and it was so good. I was like, man, that's crazy battle we just went through. Like, I went through highs and lows of craziness while playing this game. Like, I had a squad, and then like my first playthrough, I learned so many lessons of not just using the same characters, because if somebody dies or gets injured in battle, you got to use a rookie to replace them, and rookies are not the best units to have at your side, because they can panic and flip the F out in the middle of a firefight, and it's like, great, my dude just shot my other dude because it flipped out, and now that's one more character that's going to be injured for 5 days. And 5 days in XCOM is like 5 weeks in real world time when you're scanning the planet, like, please let nothing happen until my forces are ready for the next battle. And it could get intense. And yeah, the story's not that great, but the gameplay goes to 11. It's like, arguably, it's got some of the best like tactical combat of this console generation, with that whole meta layer of sim commander diplomacy going on in the situation room area outside of the combat. And like those two parts just make up for the lack of a narrative that is like grabbing you, that's not so just basic and dry like it is in XCOM. Like, if that wasn't the case, XCOM would be my game of the year, but it's just the narrative is so lacking and the story is just not there that I can't give Game of the Year. But I can give it the sleeper overlooked award, which I am. And like what I'm sorry, getting excited. The other thing is that, like, as opposed to having like characters that are like pre-made and pre-built that you care about, you can customize the characters in your squad to be anybody. So it's like you can replace the stock nobody, nameless, faceless characters with like characters you actually care about. Like, you can use your friends and family, and just, I would not advise this, by the way, because tragic results always ensue when someone dies, and you're like, no, and just, yeah, try not to cry, because you send them into a room full of mutons, and yeah, stuff goes down, and somebody ain't going to come back alive. That's what I'm saying about that. And the other good, like, really good thing about XCOM, while I'm still gushing over it, is basically in the like situation room commander part, you could still like grind to an extent towards like you have objectives before the game will basically, or the story in the game will progress. So you have a chance to like fortify your forces and like get really leveled up and prepared, which is what I learned in my first playthrough, that like you don't need to like keep going and like get to the end as fast as possible, because it could have ramifications, especially if you get to the end and you can't clear the final stage. Because XCOM was really cool. What they've done is like there's multiple like ways to fill the game. Like, you don't just fail from having all your characters die in a mission. You don't fail, like you just have a dead squad at that point. So basically, it doesn't even matter if your squad dies in battle, because they're so expendable, I guess. But it's cool, basically. You don't get game over from that. It basically is just a striking blow to your forces. So it's like, that's the more important part, is like having your XCOM forces be strong and your coalitions be strong, so you can just take on the aliens like no matter what. But as like time goes on, every continent and country on the planet is like, Commander, we're taking a beating here. You got to take them down. We can only hold out for so long. Which is like, to me, like the theme of the game is like, you know, you only have so much time. You have to strike while the coals hot, or you have to have a plan or a strategy, or you're just not gonna cut it as a commander, and it'll be game over. You'll get the Doom rating all the way up. Every coalition has like left XCOM forces, and the human race is doomed. But yeah, I loved XCOM, and like during the time I was playing it, I felt nobody else was really talking about it. It was all about the Borderlands, or the Call of Duties, or the Halo 4s, or the Mass Effects, or the Assassin's Creed 3s, or the Journeys, or the Walking Dead. It's like there's so many other games out there that I didn't really feel it got its due. So that's why I'm giving the amazing XCOM Enemy Unknown, developed by Firaxis Games, the overlooked / sleeper hit of 2012.